Yo, what's going on guys? Today we are starting something new on the channel. A series where we take a look at pro players and break down their gameplay, their decision making, and the key features of their playstyle, and then provide ways that you can train and play like them. In case a few of you were wondering, yes, this series has been done before by Flump. I spoke to him about this and he has given me permission to do this series. We're going to start off with Justin, as he is one of my favorite players and I'm sure many of yours as well. Let me know in the comments who you'd like me to break down in the next installment of this series. Now really quick, I just want to say, if you're struggling to improve in Rocket League and want a one-stop shop to skyrocket through the ranks, I've built a course over on Gamers Ready that you should definitely check out called The Rules to Ranking Up. I won't take up too much of your time right here, but even if you're half considering it, click the link in the description and have a look through everything it covers to see if you're keen. But anyway, we're going to jump straight into it. For those of you who don't know, Justin is one of the absolute best players in the world. Playing for NRG alongside Squishy and Gary G, they are an incredibly talented team and one that looks to perform incredibly well in upcoming tournaments. But if you know Justin, then you know where we're going to start off in this video. Justin is known for his incredible mechanical skill, for which he credits to his time spent in free play. Now, this isn't uncommon among high-level players, as they all tend to say that the best way to improve mechanically is through free play. This is because you have more time on the ball, you have no pressure, and you can just play around and learn complete control of your car. For some, this can get boring, but for others, they can spend hours in free play just working over different mechanics. In order to get to the level of mechanical ability that Justin has, I recommend a few things. 1. Even though it is tempting to go into free play and go for crazy shots, I suggest you really work on nailing the basic mechanics first. Things like wave dashes and half flips, air roll shots, and power shots. These are the things that Justin does all the time, but they don't ever get mentioned or brought up when you talk about him. The glory surrounding Justin's name doesn't take into consideration how well he has mastered the basic mechanics. So I seriously suggest going into free play and giving yourself just 5 minutes a day on each of these mechanics so that you can start to implement them into your gameplay faster. Because after all, you're going to have way more opportunities to use these in games than something like a double flip reset. But then moving on to those harder mechanics, you'll see that Justin uses things like flip resets and some of the harder mechanics quite frequently in games and in different situations. In order to become comfortable with applying some of the harder mechanics into your gameplay, you need time and muscle memory. The only way to develop muscle memory is to put yourself in a situation over and over again until you can refine your control. Now, Justin has pretty much mastered control of his car, and even though he says it comes down to free play, there is one other thing I can suggest. Take whatever mechanic you're wanting to learn and start making your own training pack for it. Make the first few shots really easy so that you don't have to focus too much on the setup and you can just work on the actual shot, which is the fun part for a lot of people. Then, throughout the pack, start making it harder and putting yourself in different situations. This gives you a really simple way to train any mechanic you want from start to finish, developing muscle memory and giving you different situations in which you have practiced. Next up, I want to stick to the kind of mechanical side of things, but something I noticed while going through a load of Justin's games was that in almost every situation where he had the option, he would choose to take the ball to the air instead of keeping it grounded. This is one of his playstyle decisions. While Justin has solid ground mechanics, he has a much better time beating players in the air, which helps to put his team in a better position. If he takes the ball to the air and beats a player, that player is then left flying away from their net and leaves Justin and his team in a 3v2 situation with Justin still on the ball. So once again, we're stuck wishing we could have this kind of amazing aerial mechanics like Justin. But first, take a step back. His choice of taking the ball into the air solely relies on his mechanical ability in the air. Without this, trying to go up and control the ball every time will fail horribly. So, general control of your car is pretty much step one in all aspects when it comes to playing like Justin. You want to put time into learning aerial car control, maybe a little time in the workshops, but just really focusing on being able to do what you want to do whenever you want with your car. I've made a decent amount of videos about aerial car control and car control in general if you want to check out the channel to go through any of those. But something I do want to suggest when it comes to getting better in the air and controlling the ball in the air like we see Justin do so many times is training packs, and more specifically, redirect and double touch training packs. Now, these are the two that I suggest more than any others if you want to learn to play like Justin. These kind of packs force you to either make a solid first touch in the air to put the ball on net or at least towards the backboard, or put you in a situation where your touch needs to be good enough to follow up yourself. Either way, These are the kind of touches you will need to make in the air that will not only benefit you by getting a shot on target or towards the backboard, but can also put the rest of your team in a good position if you do decide to aim the ball away from the goal to maybe pass it off either via the backboard or straight towards a teammate. Please remember that taking the ball into the air whenever you can is a playstyle choice by Justin and is not required and not even suggested at some of the lower levels. If you want to learn to play like him, it is something you can look into, but it takes an incredible amount of skill and control to be able to control both the car and the ball from any position. Take your time, put hours into training, and see what kind of stuff you can pull off in free play before you attempt to do any of this in game. Now, one small aspect that you see a lot of pro players doing, but something that Justin does all the time, is playing proactively instead of reactively. He doesn't wait around and let things happen for him to then go to. He moves first and controls the play. Playing this proactive style can once again be very difficult, as you'll have to be very comfortable playing off instinct and learning how to read the play a few steps in advance. Something you can do in-game while getting used to this is to play a few games with a reactive-based playstyle, where you play slower and more calculated, watching the play and seeing what everyone is doing. And then every now and then, you make an assumption about what is going to happen next and you go for it and switch to a proactive style of play. You have to read the play, make the choice about where you think the ball is going to go next, and then be the first one there. You might get this wrong 100 times just to nail it once, but over time you're going to get better at understanding the other playstyles on the field and getting better at reading the play. Justin has incredible awareness. Now obviously he is in communication with his team, but there are often times you'll notice he uses his right analog stick to look around the field to check players' positioning. Being the kind of player Justin is, he trusts his mechanics and movement to come through for him. So, knowing this, he combines it with an understanding of each player's positioning and knowledge of high-level gameplay. Using the analog stick is kind of a basic thing that not many players actually do in game. It's the small things that can help the big things become easier. He uses his awareness to position himself better, his proactive playstyle to put him first in each challenge, his mechanics to give him control on the ball, and his mastery of car control to keep him in an advantageous position for himself and his teammates. If I was going to give you a routine that you can use to not only play like Justin but to also train like him, it would be 10 minutes of free play warming up and working through any minor mechanics you wanted to train, then another 10 minutes focusing on harder mechanics you want to learn so you're pushing yourself to train outside of your comfort zone, then 10 minutes of a training pack, either redirects or double touches, then a workshop map, maybe just any of the rings maps will do, for about 10 minutes. This is about 40 minutes and is still an incredibly long warm-up before a match, but it is a routine you can use to really power through working on your car control and general aerial control. At the end of the day, make sure to have fun. Justin is one of the best players in the world and it isn't easy to replicate his playstyle. If you're feeling overwhelmed, jump into casual and get creative. Go for some fun shots and see what you can hit. Build up your control over time and remember that this guy has thousands of hours played, and one day you will too. But until then, we grind and we improve. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.